Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Commands, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. What a magnificent Monday. Even though it's 2021, let's see what the year is going to be like. Someone's going to get a fresh shave, a hot tan, even the best bod of all time. Right, Miss Susan? Hey, 949-8037, 1-800-534-TALK is going to be open line as we open up this edition of Talk Today for this new year. Happy New Year. Join me right after the break.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Why not start the year off right, showing you our love and appreciation and saying, hey, it's open line. We're probably getting back into the groove of what things are like. Hopefully your celebrations have been festive. Hopefully you've been safe, hopefully healthy, and as we look forward to happy, prosperous, and truly blessed 2021, may I invite you to do what, in my mind, a very knowledgeable, a very attentive, very forthright lady shared with me, not just in the moments before I came in. She said, listen, we had a rough year in many ways, unprecedented, certainly was probably unpredicted, in terms of what the outcome would be, and despite the unforeseen nature of what may have transpired and what is transpiring, well, what are we going to do? We heard about if you get lemons, make a lemonade, but she said she likes, make a pie. It's lemon meringue, sweeten it a little bit. But the idea is that you have something and you can do something and you should do something. So what is that something going to be? And I'll try to repeat some of what she shared. But before we do, where are you? What are you doing? Are you like some of us? I was to be off today, but I'm here. Thank God that I'm here. One, that I got the health, the strength to be here. Hopefully, the presence of mind to pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but also to have a great sense of gratitude, to be gracious, but I also have a job to come to. You might say, oh boy, civil servants really don't work. So, well, I get a paycheck and we laugh at that. Some must be offended by it. But the thing is, if the government isn't functioning, the country isn't civil and stable, the society isn't harmonious, then all the money in the world really can't, give you a peace of mind, give you a peaceful night's rest, give you a sense of, comfort, both for yourself, but probably more importantly, for those that you care about, your aging parents, your young children, perhaps even, your cat that you let roam in the yard, knowing that it'll be safe from, the neighbors' dogs, being safe from, the neighbors themselves. We've seen so much transpiring sometimes, partly out of frustration, anger, and aggravation, sometimes out of, being ill-informed. So the question that the lady posed to us, as we come into this new year, knowing what transpired, realizing what, January last year was like, even before January finish, and every month thereafter, and seeing, with the greatest of respect to all the politicians, including and in particular the ones that we have elected to date, the ones we have elected now, the ones we're going to, hopefully, under a free and democratic, fair election, elect again in May. that they're going to put the country first, serve the interests of the people, and not act as despots and lords. But we see many times people get a position of appointment, to get a promotion in an organization, to get, elevated in some civil organization, some civic, arrangement or the like. And what they say, the position goes to their head. Others flounder because, they just been promoted beyond their competence. But what are we going to do with what we have to make it better? Are we going to get informed and become engaged and involved and ensure that what we're doing is going to be for the best? Or are we going to stick our heads in the sand? I mean, think, for instance, if I saw the video, you probably all have as well. There's a nice, beautiful shark along the shoreline. Some will question, is that unusual for a shark that size or that particular species to be so close to the shore? Well, maybe long ago the shark did that. Maybe because there aren't that many people clouded in the water and the lake. Maybe the shark, but as someone said, maybe just an indication that take heed. Who knows what else will transpire? Well, can I invite you to do a number of things? Continue to maintain your courage and conviction to speak out with a sense of not just compassion and compunction, but a sense of commitment to this country and its citizens equally. If you never had that level of motivation, you never really felt that you were called or equipped, well, maybe develop within you a sense of confidence that you can and you must. Because if not you, then who? If not, now, then when? It is interesting as we look at the way we share information, the way we sometimes sort of take solace in knowing that somebody else is going to do it, or hopefully they will, because then if they don't, well, it won't get done, and we don't, have that level of, courage as we seem to see exhibited in others. Well, other times we see people because of their position, their title, perhaps even because of their accent, their education, or ethnicity, economic background, or misconceived perception of who they are, we defer to them. Well, unless I'm mistaken, unless they're machine, they're still man. Cut them, do they not bleed? Just like the rest of us. The question is, are we willing to stand in the gap? Well, give me a shout. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Like the boxer who prepares to go in the ring. It's not just to jump in and expect to go, a distance, or to quickly in two moves, out the opponent. But it's about strategy and preparation. It's about being surrounded by people who are going to help you to prepare. Or what is the boxer or the student looking for, better grades or better understanding and knowledge? Not just a grade, because that itself probably isn't indicative. We've seen too many people sometimes, despite what seems to be their qualifications, even now, not just in the past, don't really have what it takes. Their mettle are tested and truly comes up wanting. So who are we, where are we, and what do we want a country to look like? 949-8037, 949-8037, or call us on the toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Now, we recognize that even as the year closed, many of us, feel very saddened. The loss of our loved ones as they pass, the memory, of their no longer being here, even though years may have transpired since their demise. So our prayers are with you, and hopefully as a nation, and hopefully there aren't many in our midst who would be offended by those of us who would say that we should be a prayerful nation, or we should look and call upon God whom we serve, that higher power to which we subscribe, and not have to worry about offending others if it is indeed a Christian nation as we have professed. Not one engaged in religion, but one who professes through our practice a strong relationship with that higher power. From the great architect on high to all who may call and know his name, while I trust and pray that you seek through prayer and petition a sense of wisdom, in a sense, through your love and your demonstrated love, a willingness to help your fellow man. And by that I mean, male and female alike, show a deference to our aged as well as to our young. Make sure that we have access to education and health care. That is a sense of equality in our midst. And it isn't just about people's ability to write a check to demonstrate that they're worth something. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. We'd like to hear from you. Tell us about your fears, and also tell us about your hopes and dreams and aspirations. Tell us about the things that you see as a challenge for you and for the country. But tell us about what we can do, what possible solutions we can put forward that are actionable, that may bring about a positive, meaningful, lasting outcome, not only for you, but perhaps for the rest of us. Now, it may be, and I would say that if in this instance it would be not only accepted, but it would be encouraged that if you were to take the initiative to improve, oneself, whether that's through study and learning, but certainly paying attention to your health, and not just resolving that we're going to exercise better, smarter, and consistently, eat better and healthy choices on the plate, and our snacking and the like. Because if we improve our health, whether it's a physical, mental, spiritual, financial well-being, then we improve our lot. But if each of us did that in the process of giving our all, then wouldn't the society be that much better? But sometimes, we can't, or we continue to put others before ourselves. Well, let's reach out and extend a helping hand to others, whether it's our blood brothers or new acquaintance, whether it's our person for whom we've had much contempt and disdain, perhaps in our own minds, justifiably so. Well, they say, you carry that burden, and it's really only you weighed down by it. Forgiveness isn't something that comes easily to many of us, and perhaps we can't forgive or refuse to forgive because we seemingly find it difficult to forget. But maybe that burden can be lightened if we are able to extend a true sense of kindness and through a demonstrated love and commitment. Maybe we'll find it better. But it doesn't mean, and I say that being reminded of what they tell us, sometimes we should let sleeping dogs lie. It doesn't mean that because you smile, because you seem willing to let bygones be bygones for then, that the people should take, your effort for granted or play you for fool. But at the end of the day, sometimes some people perhaps need to see on your part another attempt at, let's move forward and put, the past and the bad behind us and see if we can make the better for the future. But by the same token, sometimes, some people need to be reminded in a very deliberate way that they shouldn't, expect you to always, what they say, lie down and play dead. So let's see what we can do. We'll pause, take the first short break. It's open line. I don't intend to sing, but I'll always shine. I don't intend to, grandstand, but I certainly don't have a problem with asking us to collectively come together through unity and finding that strength in our community to stand for what is right and do the right thing, and to call out those who, make a mockery of the values and the virtues that we knew our parents exhibited and tried to instill in us. So let's talk about those. But let's not hide and deny the ugly that's facing us many times when we look in the mirror. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Give us a shout during the break and we'll hear from you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hi, Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
Tired of traffic congestion and parking problems? No problem. Just simply hop on and hop off the new and free Georgetown shuttle service to get around.
Thanks to the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, a new shuttle service is taking passengers around the busiest parts of Georgetown every day from Monday to Friday for free.
Operating now. For times, route maps, and more, visit energy.gov.ky/shuttle today.
Designated parking is available behind the immigration building.
Because life is about enjoying the ride.
Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now? Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. I hope you got a chance on Friday. I know it seems like it was a long time ago, to relax with your family, to reflect on what the year was like, and to perhaps rest and rejuvenate, give your body and your mind a sense of what lies ahead, what perhaps has transpired. And hopefully, last Tuesday you got an opportunity to have listened to Mr. Loxley's CI Retro Talk Today special. And as I was listening, you realize how much you tend to forget, or how much of your history that you don't appreciate. He talked briefly about the Bull Runs, for instance. And what was striking is that sometimes we look back, throughout the three islands and amongst the districts, the very, very noticeable differences in our people. Not just how we look and maybe our particular accents. People in West Bay speak in a certain way, differently from those in East End and Bordentown and the like. But how we celebrate, how we do things, and perhaps it may speak to how we will settle. The West Bayers would probably quickly point to, some of their Latin roots, whether through Cuba or even further afield in Europe. Others would be able to point to associations with, regions even closely. But at the end of the day, we are one people. And if we continue to show a healthy sense of love and respect for each other, and as we are looking increasingly at a changing world, well, what are we doing to unify ourselves? Now, got a question for you, but before I do, let's go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Happy New Year.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Not too bad. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. I trust it's going to be a safe and blessed and healthy one for us, huh?
I sure hope so.
Amen.
Sterling.
Yes, sir.
The big question around today is, what is the latest on the Skylar Mark situation? I understand she left Cayman this morning, Cayman Airways, or this afternoon on Cayman Airways.
Go ahead. I'll tell you what I understood as well, but you go right ahead.
No, that's what I want to find out. I don't want you to tell us something else going on.
Yeah.
If you can, remember, there's certain things I know you can say and certain things you can't, so.
Yeah, no, well, you know what?
I don't want to put you in any trouble, you know.
No, thank you very much, man, and I know. I'll say I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that very much. My understanding was that there was some speculation that she may have left. We do know that 2 of the U.S. senators from her home state presumably wrote to the U.S. consul and embassy in Kingston, sort of asking them to, look into it, as they probably would for any U.S. citizen overseas. Right. And I think, like good diplomats, they probably would, publicly show that they have to, respect the laws in the country. Perhaps there'll be some back channel discussions, who knows. But as it stands right now, we understand that she has not left as yet, that she is presumably still here. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because this whole issue that the world is facing is probably one of the most divisive, perhaps one of the most difficult conversations that I've witnessed people who otherwise can argue about anything and never seem to get tired of each other's company. This thing is different, and maybe that's part of the master plan. Who knows, right? But I say that to ask the question, then, is the imprisonment, whether it's 2 days, 2 months, or 2 years, right? Whether it's a fine of $4 or $4 billion, is that in and of itself, the best course of action? When you see how she was sort of dealt with by the process. What about the other instances of people who seemingly contravene the regulations? Whether the person just the other day who returned from, according to the press reports, getting the test on the last day and decides to make a detour and not go back and follow the protocols until they're all clear, or the people who may have prior to that done something similar to what she did. Punishing a young lady like that to make an example might be, in some people's mind, the right thing. For others, it might be destroying a potential good mind in the making. What do you think?
Well, good afternoon and Happy New Year to
and that my good friend Mr. Mario Rankin. Mario, MDR.
Well, when you said what do you think, you looked at me.
Yeah.
So
and we had the caller who's
that was my cue.
That was your cue, and we had the caller who's listening. You still there, sir? Hello, sir.
But,
yeah.
What I think about it, what I say is, if they let her go, I think they should not keep the young man incarcerated.
Well, if they let one, they should let all two, right?
If
they let one out, they should let all two out, right?
That's what I would think. That's what I'm sure people are going to think is not right. Something is funny about that.
Yeah, man. But we tend, yeah. But what do you think? I mean, and only if you feel inclined to. But I don't want to convey or to give any impression that I don't want people to take their health seriously, that I don't think this thing is warranted. I mean, when my personal perspective, when I go to visit, say, a newborn, I wait till that child is a few months old before I would visit, even close family friends, just out of respect. Maybe that's what I thought you're supposed to do. Maybe that's the wrong thing. I don't know. I don't think you take a child out in a draft, when they're young. I don't think you drag them about all over the place when they're young. That's just what I think. That may be old-fashioned. It may not be the right thing to do, but that's what I believe, right? Likewise, if you have a cold or you may be coming down with something, you don't go around people to spread it, work or young children or old people. That's just the way I think we were raised. Other people will go to the bathroom and don't think twice about leaving it without washing their hands, and then go prepare food and eat it and share it. Again, not the way some of us were raised.
But what I'm getting is that people are feeling that justice It's to those who can afford it.
Mm.
I mean, let's take the diplomatic things out of it, take the age out of it,
Mm-hmm.
all the sort of things they're saying, because, you know, I mean, I feel that a certain amount of it is diplomatic pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, they bring diplomatic pressure to bear on England, and England gets involved, and, you know, there's protocols that got to be followed and all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to the person on the street that's looking at it, saying, well, you know, how they can let her go, and then people. And I understand that she left and came on Airways this morning. I mean, right or wrong, I don't really know.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, man, go ahead, Mr. Rankin.
I just read an article online that the governor confirmed that is not the case. So
yeah, that's what we, you know.
But certainly, stranger things has happened. But I hope that the governor clarified it by.
Well, you know,
by making the statement that she's still in incarceration. But I guess we do. I would figure if she left on Cayman Airways, I think a lot more people would have known.
Yes.
You know, and the way technology has, I'm sure some photos would have been floating around with her boarding that flight.
But I mean, do you think she should serve the full time pay fee? Do you think that she should have even been in prison for it? I mean, what, if I may ask, what do you think?
Well, when you look at it, you know.
Sir?
Hello?
Yes, sir. I missed. Yeah, I saw, but I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like you said, 2 ways of looking at it. And, but, I mean, what you do, we're endangering the whole country. And we know what we went through already. And we got it to this stage. And then, you know, somebody come in and you know, this thinking about it, disregard it, wasn't an accident where you just went out. You know, you just went out, you were hungry and you went out to buy some food and come back in and so forth. It was the background to that was like very deliberate, the way it was done. And I think in people's mind that is one of the things, you know, that is saying, well, you know, but if they, you know, the appeal, they went to court, there's been appeal, they went before 3 judges, all sort of stuff. But we just wanted to find out what was the official word on it. That was really where my concern was, what was really happening. Because what I heard and what is fishing around, you know, I don't like the Mall Road too much. to take things off of the regular Mall Road. I don't understand the Mall Road, but I figured it would have been on that if anything was going on today. But, you know, I was told that she left this morning.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, as you have shared. Can you hear me okay, sir?
I never saw that.
Okay.
It's directing officially from it, so it's quite a good place to call and ask. I mean, there are people that around might know something and be able to tell you. So we'll see what they're going to see.
Yeah, it is one of those things, I mean, in and of itself. And I think with the mindsets of men and now with all, you know, the added fear, stress, and anxiety that we may be facing. But I don't, as Mr. Rankin just shared, I don't think, you know, given the governor's statement, I don't think that is the case. Now, whether she'll be able to leave earlier, whether she should actually, you know, be leaving shortly, or should not have been there, you know, those are the sort of discussions. As an example, not to change the subject, but I would, and I probably could have, but I haven't yet. Maybe someone has that information directly to hand. You know, we know that we had passed regulations saying that you needed to be so many feet apart, and if not, there was a fine. I think the police could write you a ticket just like they can, and then you would pay this fine. I don't know, was it $500 or $5 million, but it was some amount of money. And if we no longer have that sort of physical distancing limits in place now, have those regulations fall away? And if they haven't, do we need to consciously make sure that they do? Now, we're still presumably limiting gatherings to, was it 500 or something?
Yeah, I think it's the 500.
Right. So, yeah. So, do we still have that potential for that fine to be, meted out to people, even though we don't have seemingly any requirement to be physically distant. Now, I don't like the idea of socially, using the phrase socially distant.
That one was the social distance kind of.
Yeah.
It rubs some people the wrong way.
Well, it's probably like this government and some of the people, they just rub you the wrong way, So.
Ask Mario which website it was. Whether it was a governance blog or whether it was.
Sorry, it came on Compass.
Compass. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks much, man. Thanks much. Off the bat, sir. Happy New Year publicly to you again.
Happy New Year to all of the loyal listeners to Radio Cayman.
Can I perhaps say to you, if it's okay, hopefully I don't make you blush, but I want to commend you and others for being willing champions thus far. Sometimes the things that are said aren't always popular, and certainly for those who subscribe to political expediency, they'll find it easy to say and do things that may not always accord with their own conscience. But I like the fact that you speak with conviction and from an informed perspective, and hopefully this year find you with great health, a great voice, and a great sense of counsel and wisdom.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for those kind words, and certainly when you're willing to stand in the gaps and obviously talk about the pressing issues that affect all of us, and certainly a lot of the things that I try to convey on the radio is not my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Those are just the facts, unfortunately, and sometimes the facts isn't something that we smile on, right? So, but I would just like to obviously say season's greetings to everybody, and I hope that everybody can find some sort of resources to make this year better than the last. I know we've been extremely resilient over the last year because of the circumstances such as COVID-19, the way we reacted to it, all the things that has happened and transpired because of it. And when I still hear the conversations about this girl Skylar Market, it saddens me because we could be focused on the real issues that we have facing us. Whether she spent an hour in jail or 10 hours in jail or 10 months in jail, they're not going to ever be able to change the fact that she was put in prison for her actions. Right. And we can argue how long that should be all day long. The fact of the matter is that she's in prison. End of story. I think that sent a very clear message to all visitors whom are planning to come to Cayman in the future. If we have such regulations in place, I think it's a great deterrent. Now, are we going to have people who are going to challenge the system? Absolutely. We have that every day. There's no perfect system. The problem with Cayman is that we try to, we end up emphasizing the one infraction a lot bigger than what it really is. I mean, the governor clarified the issue. But what's intriguing to me is that not so long ago we were arresting people for false publication, right? But that false publication was of someone other than Skylar. So I'm wondering if this publication where somebody published that she left the island on the flight this morning, if it was a false publication of someone else, of a higher ranking official, if those who published it would have been arrested for false publication. But the double standards is an ongoing issue in our country. We see it all the time.
Well, as we go to the break, perhaps we'll invite callers. But one thing to consider, maybe this case, as you shared, could be a stark reminder to all. If you break our laws, they're going to be a consequence. But that'll be for everybody. It'll be for everything across the board. Yeah. Right? We see.
If we put 10% of the effort into spreading propaganda, like we do spreading propaganda into trying to figure out what the solutions are, because 2021 isn't going to be better than 2020, because 2021 is the landmine of consequences of 2020. We haven't felt the real repercussions yet. Wait until the government can't afford to spend $50 million a month.
Well, I want to ask about that.
That's what we need to be focused on.
When we come back, right? For me, the pillars in a society, and I don't say this within a political sort of intent. Education and healthcare. I always believe that, and if that's wrong, then I need someone to show me different, right? So when we come back, the spending of money, but I like how you put it, the minefield is ahead of us. All right, let's pause, take a break. Susan's smiling. I'd like to see that continue. Look at that smile. Well, I tell you, boy, somebody's saying nothing better than a porgy. Let's go. Let's go to the break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
UCCI students, have you registered for classes in the spring 2021 semester? Class registration takes place until January 8th. Classes start January 11th. Spring into action. Visit ucci.edu.ky/myucci. Call 623-8224 or email admissions@ucci.edu.ky for more information.
Radio Cayman, this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Sing your praise to the Lord. Come on, everybody, stand up and sing one more. Hallelujah, give your praise to the Lord. We are united in Jesus Christ. We are the soldiers of the Lamb.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
There's a meeting up in heaven. Roll call. It's a name in the Lamb's book of life. Roll call, brother, sister. Roll call. If you don't stop shouting, if you don't stop dancing, we're going to put you out of our church.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Your song flowed through my lips. Your work moved through my hands. Your thoughts stay on my mind. Living me.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And thanks too for Miss Susan. I mean, all of us had vacation, but she didn't, so, she is a machine. Mario Rankin, Mr. Mario D. Rankin sits with us, and we have a call online. So let's go to the phones. The phone lines are open, this open line, and I want to hear your thoughts on anything. Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year. Right, a little bit clearer. Right, transparent now.
Yes, sir.
Not being on a negative note now, right? It's a new year, new page, new leaf. See? I remember lunchtime. So I can remember that now. In the whole. Sterling, for the last 2.5 years, what I have observed, a lot of campaigning going on. Okay? And the point of me, Sterling.
Yes, sir.
Anyone, right, trying to delineate, right, whatever the outline or the manifesto or what they try to represent. You understand? Because I hear people calling about we need people to be educated, academia, qualified. You understand? And who have X amount of CVs and resumes and business etiquette. Hello. We did a reality. Live and learn. It's where coming from. Basic logic. You understand? Logical. See? 2020. To me, it was like a reality lecture. To me. It was hectic. It was having this seems to sort of way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They got candidates, right? They can run the household. No one specific left. You know where I'm from? And
yeah, man.
To run country.
Yeah.
You understand? That be arrogant on a new year like this. But I start from now. But I know who to vote for now. All of a sudden, I know who to vote for now. My representative, he get back in. I vote for him too. Nothing wrong with that. You understand? But the point you make now. The world is an actor evolving, right? And the whole bunch of me, not the herb thing.
Right.
Whenever the latest, whenever the House of Parliament dissolves before the general election, that latest, no, like to see something pass and approved on that note. That is why I call it now. You know, and people going down this like some taboo. Things are taboo. It's a diaphragm. Inhale, exhale. You have to check.
But let me ask you. All right, let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Because I must share, I always appreciate, your perspective and your willingness to champion a cause and to share from from what you read and what you understand, right? But maybe two things. The people that we elect, right? I agree with you. They need to have a degree of sense, but they also need to have to be sensible about what they're doing. So it doesn't mean that they have a pile of degrees. But what is it going to take for the voters to get to a place where they're electing the people who have these skill sets, those values, integrity, for instance, a sense of honesty, a sense of truly wanting to serve, the country and the interests of its people, and not seemingly, doing what we as voters have been complaining about. We're just changing faces, but they're still occupying the same places and doing the same things.
Sorry, like we say a lot. We say right, but like, can I ask the point of view of it now?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, anybody will get run the parliament now. They want the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. See, it's pristine, nice to go, good to go. But you see, what people have to analyze it. We came out people, the masses.
Mm-hmm.
You be saying, "My guy was a black, no we, no vote." I support that. I will support that. You see where I come from?
Yeah, man.
But the 19 now, they can head set reluctant towards that. So, like I said again, like I said early on, you don't need no this is adequate to run country or this and that, or how much academia you have a fundamental, a bachelor of science. Hello, the reality. That's why you do compassion, do people right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why I believe communism. I will keep it ready. Like I said, communism does undermine democracy, binding. You see where I'm from?
Mm-hmm.
You got to analyze that. Like I said again, you go parallel or unparalleled. So I hope in 2021 the election come, you know what you're doing. But I know I vote for my president if he get back in. Nothing wrong with that. Understand?
Yeah, man.
The order 18 certificates, figure it out.
I hear you, man.
Next time talk to him, I've been a better mood.
Yeah, man.
I go back to work now. Cool blood.
Cool blood. All right. Let's take one more call before the news. Okay, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Happy New Year. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Okay, I don't know if it's me or the other person.
No, it's you, man. You're on, and thank you for calling. Blessings to you.
Blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Look here, I just want to know if you can tell the world, including myself, what a few of your New Year's resolutions are, and then I'll know if you go ahead.
You mean me personally?
Resolution.
Yeah. You want to know what me personally?
You, not few.
Okay. Can I ask why? I mean, I'm possibly.
I trying to suss you out here now.
Can I ask why?
I said trying to suss you out. Go ahead, talk.
On January the 4th, and you wanted to do that, huh? In a day that I was scheduled. Okay.
The only opportunity and the first opportunity, so we go with it now.
Oh boy, only because of my love and respect for you. My result.
You're talking away my time.
No,
100.
No, man, I'm not talking away your time. I'm considering
strategist.
Yeah, I'm considering whether I should be diplomatic in my response or I should be me.
No, you're diplomacy and me. Come on.
They're telling me it's the break.
You told me from last year that I needed to up my game.
Okay, so but what would be your New Year's resolution?
Let me put it to you straight now. Before the callers should begin to torment me about you, I just want to know what your scheduling is going to be like in this new year of our Lord.
Amen. All right, for the show or for me personally?
I want to get.
For me personally or for the show?
Not for the show. You can't give us another show. Look here, we now recovered yet. We now get to discuss this one yet.
No, sir.
Please do not add to it.
Okay. I
No, your own schedule, your personal schedule.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I am one of those people that has always tried to look at things in the best possible light. I don't see myself as being very patient, and with great respect, I don't have any tolerance for arrogance, I don't have tolerance for insolence, and when I see a level of impropriety and ignorance sometimes being inflicted upon people by those in position of authority, where they act as if they're the lord over everybody else, that sense of injustice doesn't sit well with me. I do find that being direct with people may be a bit difficult for them to take it, but I like the truth, and I find it easier that we have a very straight conversation. Now, when I accepted that I would apply for this job, and when I was offered it, I made a personal commitment that I'm here to facilitate and try as best as possible not to impose my personal sort of soapbox, as it were. This year, I think we saw what last year was like, and if you'll forgive me for being a little bit personal, one or two close friends recognized that there was a level of apprehension on my part, a sense of urgency when 2019 was entering its fourth quarter, and I said, man, something's right. It was this urgent thing. And the day that we had an earthquake on the 20th of January last, for the weirdest thing, right? I sensed that before it happened and as it was transpiring. And the co-worker, Joel Wilson, did a wonderful little thing, making great fun, at my expense. But if Miss Susan don't mind, we sat here and she said, "You just stayed calm. How come?" I said, "Well, I had a peace, a sense of presence. But it was also foreboding, because when you walk out, we saw sinkholes, right? And then when you see, and on that same show, that same day, I referenced that, this coronavirus thing is out and about. There was other reports out of the Germany media that there was some possible, transmission to human transmission and stuff. And this was early days, right? And we had the break to take. If you want, I won't try not to lose my train of thought, but I don't want to be overly disrespectful to ignoring the constant reminder that you got a news break. You want to hang on and we talk more and then see if I have a job tomorrow?
No, hang on.
All right. I got Mario Rankin here with me. If anything else, I can be a chauffeur if I need a job tomorrow. We're going to pause. Take a break. When we come back, who knows what I'll say. Let's find out. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only two species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio K-Man's newsroom. The Office of the Ombudsman is currently conducting an independent investigation into allegations of delayed police response and lack of police action at the scene of Michael Aaron Bush's fatal stabbing. The incident occurred in the early hours of December 24th, 2020, outside a nightclub complex in the Strand Plaza off West Bay Road. The Ombudsman asks members of the public who were at the scene that morning to provide any information that would assist in the investigation, including any video footage of the police action at the scene. In international news, the UK on Monday became the first nation in the world to start using the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Oxford University and drug maker AstraZeneca, ramping up a nationwide inoculation program as rising infection rates are putting an unprecedented strain on British hospitals. Brian Pinker, an 82-year-old dialysis patient, received the first shot. The rollout of the new vaccine comes at a crucial moment for UK authorities, who are battling a surge in infections blamed on a new virus variant that authorities have said is much more contagious. Meanwhile, the U.S. ramped up its COVID-19 vaccinations in the past few days after a slower-than-expected start, bringing the number of shots dispensed to about 4 million, government health officials said Sunday. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, also said on ABC's This Week that U.S. President-elect Joe Biden's pledge to administer 100 million shots of the vaccine within his first 100 days in office is achievable. And he rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's false claim on Twitter that coronavirus deaths and cases in the U.S. have been greatly exaggerated. And tons of trash have washed onto Bali's famous Kuta Beach, prompting locals to spend the first day of the new year staging a cleanup. Residents from the Badung area on the Indonesian island cleared 30 tons of marine debris from the beach, according to the state-run Antara news agency. The trash was reportedly loaded onto trucks and transported to a landfill site. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. In the studio, excellent company of Mario D. Rankin, and a wonderful lady who is, I think, makes it very encouraging to listen to what she shares. No, I can't. Can you hear me, Mom? Because I can't even hear myself. Mr. Fox, all of a sudden, are you able to hear me, Mom? Nope. Okay. Well, all right. Maybe a new year. Maybe there we go. And Mario, to the caller, I'm not quite sure what transpired, but maybe I was saved with a bell.
Well, I just think she was asking you what was your New Year's resolution.
Man.
I think maybe she just wanted to get a clear understanding of what your intentions are for 2021.
What's that song?
That was what I believe.
Yeah. I am not a man of wicked intentions.
Me personally don't make resolutions simply because, I just give thanks for good health.
Amen.
And we can, once you're healthy, you can deal with everything else as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, but the thing is
thanks for that.
I hear what you're saying, and I support. I think the thing is to make sure that as a people we have a personal ethos, that within us there are certain things that we are unwilling to compromise. Things like integrity, things like honesty, the values that our parents or grandparents and people of that generation who lived by their very nature, their way, just examples. Mario, we do have a caller join us though. Okay. Let's go to the phones. Hey, it's the 4th of January. Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
You see that 1-800 number? You got it.
Hey. You know, something that anyway, go ahead.
I don't want that in your business, but your fans be calling me. I don't know. I tell them all the time, I am not your agent.
Yeah, I can't afford you.
And when he coming back, that's why I was asking.
Okay. Well, put it this way, right? I'm very glad, actually I'm very humble. It's humbling that people seem to, appreciate me to some extent. Today, this week, but probably I have to go back to my calendar, but Axon was, very, very thankfully granted to be on vacation this week, and I probably applied for that months ago, right? Probably even early last year. I don't even remember. I look back because I had something on the calendar that was supposed to happen, and it has happened. But I need to be at work, and and that's what I have to do. I have to honor my obligations. Vacation can wait, right? And I'm just glad that I live in a nation where people seemingly still have a sense of community and a sense of respect for self and a willingness to help each other.
Well, you just told them so they don't have to bother me, and I don't have to come up with answers that I don't have answers to.
Oh man. But let me ask then, what? This is a new year, and I think all of us at some point make an attempt to maybe do things a little bit differently. Whether we subscribe to, the mythology of the Greeks or the Romans, whether we look at the scriptures for our instruction, or whether we've had some epiphany or the other, or whether there was something that has happened to us in our personal lives. And usually a new year can kind of give us an opportunity to maybe start over, or at least try something new. So with that in mind, with the country where it is, and probably with the confused minds that we all may have still because of all the mixed messages and all the other stuff, right? What do you think collectively this country should be looking at. All of us. I mean.
Okay, now. Let me say what my New Year's resolution is. When I come from Foster's supermarket, I can try to get the perishables in the fridge. That's my New Year's resolution. You notice how high you going, and you notice how low I am. I don't know how you expect me to bridge that gap.
Easily, man. Extend a hand and you reach it.
But look here now, I would have had to start with the COVID policy. And seeing as you ask me now, I can fill in for you.
Please.
COVID, and I hear we opening up in
March, yeah.
We need to get some money from them people up front. That when they step off, it'll be like when I down with my grandson down by the prison, down by the jailhouse. When I signed for them, I'd be flying up and down from my house to the jail to Georgetown jailhouse because I don't want them to come after me because I don't want to lose my little money because I ain't going on to lose. So I would say we're going to ask for a surety up front, one that makes sense, one that means something, not $500 and $1,000 and $10,000. And remember, we have our own currency called Cayman Islands dollars. We need a surety so we don't have another situation like we got going on now, and everybody from all over the world kicking us in the face and the backside. We need an immigration policy. We need an immigration policy that makes sense. We need an immigration policy that is a policy set in place to benefit generational Caymanians. They're the one kind of really worried about, to be honest. And I hope I'm not saying anything wrong. But if I am, I don't even care. Generational Caymanians must matter. This is 2021, year of our Lord, 2021. Generational Caymanians must matter, and I'm talking to all of us. We must find a way to be smart. And you can't be smart all the time. Maybe you can't, but we can try. Even me can try to be smart a little bit more, because I can be real stupid all the time. But you know me to tell you that. But immigration policies and that COVID policy that they got that looked like, I don't know, it looked like a little birthday party put on by somebody for a 2-year-old. That's what it looks like to me. We need to do something about them. And as we're talking about elections, we can talk about reform package that is not going to be only beneficial to incumbency, but every jackman out there might get an opportunity to serve the country. And it takes money to run a campaign. So that's all I'm talking about. Reform. And of course, immigration reform.
But as I listen,
I got more on the list, but if I could get them 3, I'm doing good. I had asked them for a holiday for our Southwell guys, but I don't think we're gonna get that.
Well,
because they already signaled that Cayman has too many holidays already. That's how right we are. I don't care if we had every day a holiday. I would find another one for them. But we get on the radio and we get on the TV and we make empty promises and we spout off empty platitudes and
Well, as I listen to you, I mean, those reforms or those things to recognize our people, isn't it then that there needs to be the political will, not only on the part of the people that we elect, but on the part of us that do the electing, to elect people who are going to help.
You must learn to be smart. And we already know that most of the people that we have elected now, we're looking for bright stars in the future. But most of the people we got sitting down in office now, except maybe for 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, I don't think they really care much for this country. You don't need to care for Charlene, care for the country. And anything that I need to have in your caring for the country, I will get. And I'm not talking about me individually, but me as a class of people. Anything. If these people that we elect cared for this country, everything would be smooth and easy and bright and right, morally correct for the Caymanian in this country. But they cares not for this country. Anybody can come with a legal pad, this is just my scenario, on a Monday morning with their wish list, and they sign off. I don't think they reads it. Mr. So-and-so send this, and they signs off on it. Anybody need your signature? Let's sign off on it. And that's just the way this country is bastardized throughout the world. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But like I say, except for me, before, the whole kit and caboodle need to go without a package, without that golden parachute. They need to go and find out what it is like in the real world. That's what they need to be going with. I mean, the whole of them. I don't care. Like, I would give 4 a chance. 4, no more than 4 out of 19, a chance. They need to go find out what the real world that they created out there, what it is to make it in that world, because they don't know. They're laughed at because people not laughing, smiling with them, you know, they're laughing at them. But then people skin their teeth. They think that's inclusive, and they did about this inclusiveness. Inclusiveness, I don't like it 100% at all. But anyhow, since you asked, man, I want to ask you about your New Year's resolution, you know. But anyhow, and boo to the guest in the studio. Happy New Year, sir.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye. Now, Mario, as I was listening to the caller and looking at a couple of comments coming through, for those who are listening, you know, they can call or they can WhatsApp 925-3261 or telephone toll free otherwise. Before I ask you for your comments, let's join the other caller. Join us. Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is number 1 from the Brack. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
Dwayne Sterling.
Sterling Dwayne?
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Dwayne Sterling. I know you want to hear. You're still the same person. I'm glad to hear you back on.
Thank you, sir.
And if that offends you, well, I'm glad of it.
No, man, listen, I appreciate always, you know, a chance to talk and hear from you.
Yeah, listen, I just want to say 1 or 2 things. I heard something on the radio probably about 6-7 years ago. But when this vaccine comes, they're going to see if they can get most of the population of the Cayman Islands vaccinated. What's going to happen to the rest of the population that don't get none?
Or what's going to happen to those that do?
Say what?
Well, if we look at it from 2 perspectives, right? Let's say that the world moves to a place that, and this is just conjecture, right? You know, what if you want to do business, you want to travel, you want to go to school, you want to do these things like we do with a driver's license or other things. If you don't have the vaccine, you know, you can't come into transact business in the bank, come into the grocery store, go into school, whatever, all right? Catch a flight and go places.
If you don't have the vaccine, you can't do all that.
No, I'm saying, what if we move to a place like that becomes the accepted way to get about?
Well, what if you have it and you go and spread it around and give other people that don't have it?
Mm-hmm.
Come. Let's be fair. If England can do everything else, they can send enough vaccination down here to give everyone the double shot of it.
But I mean, and like another thing, you know. But anyway, let's hear your perspective. Let me listen to you, and then.
That's how I feel about it. I said that's what they should do. Make sure everyone gets it, and whoever don't want it, make them sign a paper. Say, look, I don't want this vaccination at my own risk. That's it. If you get it, anything happen, it's your problem.
I guess we kind of find a way to the scarlet letter now. You know, you have to go about with your. All right, I hear you.
And the second thing I want to say is this. I was in Windsor Park for 10 days or 11 days, and look, on Cayman Brack is a different story, because I can tell you about the police up here. They're off on the road all the time. I never see one police car up in Windsor Park. Except when I drove past the station.
But wouldn't it be better if we had a society that we didn't have the need for police, the courts, or prisons?
You're going to hit me with that one again.
So if we had a society where the people were law-abiding, decent people who were able to self-regulate, and the need to have tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, spent on policing, on court system, on our prison system, wouldn't that be a better society than one where we're constantly trying and struggling to find money to get more resources for the police, whether bigger guns and faster cars and more police, or bigger and more secure prisons, or more judges and court personnel, more prison cells and the like to hold people? I mean, wouldn't a society that didn't have a great need for those things be seemingly an advanced and better society?
It cannot be advanced if you're looking more money to get more police car and thing, and you're not seeing them.
Well,
it cannot be advanced then, Dean. I'm sorry, but I can't agree with you on that one.
Yeah. No. I hear you when you say if you're spending more money, you're still not seeing your thing. But what I'm asking is, what if you didn't have to spend any money on those sort of resources?
Dwayne,
yes, sir.
You can be living around an area and nothing happening for 6 months, 7 months, or anything, right? No police come around. Everybody can say, look, this is that, the other thing. But when you have something like that, that's security, the police driving through areas, roads and everything, even once a week, they don't know when you come in.
But okay, I hear you. But two things. One, let's say, to your point, we have a member of the community dial in to the police, whether it's the emergency number or not, and they say, listen, someone's trespassing on my property, something is happening next door or down the street, or I saw something. You would expect a reasonable and timely response from the police, right? To come out and check it out and, make sure that, it's nothing, is all taken care of now. But equally, what if on the other side of the coin, you have a police that is so, well resourced, big guns and all kind of things, and, with a mentality that, what was it that was reported in some of the media in the region, extrajudicial, killings and the like. Not that we have that here, thankfully, but what if you end up with that sort of mentality where the police can move about and, they go in convoy and next thing you know, people have disappeared? Would we want that either?
No, sir, they don't have to be carrying the big guns or going the big convoys 2 or 3 cars. What I'm trying to say is, in every place in Grand Cayman, in the road, like the East Road or something, they can turn up there sometime, even once for the week. Nobody know when you're coming. I might want to come break into your house too, and I can say, I wonder if they're coming around this area now. You follow me?
I hear you, sir. I mean, what's the point, as you said, having something if it's no value to you, right?
Right, yeah. And I am not afraid to say it. When I up in Cayman broadcast sometime, when I sit down out there, man, I can see when the police cars pass out like 4 or 5 times for the day.
But
Cayman, you need to have them go around each place at least once for the day.
I listen. You pay for something, you want to get the value, and you want to see it in action. Okay, fair enough. Anything else you want to share with us, sir?
Yeah, one last thing. I want to say this to Moses Coconut. Try and get this road painting in the middle done. They are going dark. You can't see where the line is someplace. The only place you can find it down Road State there. And I have said it, Moses Coconut, come, or get up and do the job. Paint the road over.
Let us know when it's done, okay? It'll probably be done by Wednesday, all right?
You sure of that?
Yeah, man.
Well, I can hold you to that. I'll call you back Thursday and tell you fired.
Well, you call back and tell me if you're not done. All right?
You just want to get rid of me.
No, man.
Anyway, Granny, I heard you talking to him. Keep rubbing into him next time. Call him back again. Call him back and tell him. Happy New Year, Granny. And to everybody that really came out and to all you guests.
Blessings to you, sir. Happy New Year.
Nobody don't like me. Bye.
As you sit here in the company, thank you so much for your time, sir. You have the excellent company, Mario Rankin. The 2 callers prior. Gradually, there are more and more of us who are speaking out. And I think, as I said to you earlier, you sort of exhibit that level of courage and conviction, and may encourage others, But Mario, we can talk about all the problems, but solutions, as you've always said, what are the solutions?
Well, I would just like to say this based on number one's comment about vaccinating everybody in Cayman. Let me just make this abundantly clear from my perspective. I don't think it should be mandatory for anybody to take this vaccination, and I have nothing against those who wish to do so. And I think that's how it should be. We should have our liberties intact, which should be in place. And I just want to share a fun fact with number one. 99.9% of the world that got COVID-19, those individuals who got it, the 99.9% of them were asymptomatic. All of whom didn't even show any symptoms and gotten over it. So it's a clear indication that you do not need a vaccine to prevent COVID-19 from affecting you and creating any major health issues for you if you're not a person that is elderly, pre-existing conditions, or subject to underlying issues that you may not know about that COVID may affect you. Those things are real, and there might have been a few cases where some healthy people gotten COVID-19 but had underlying issues that they didn't themselves know about, and it affected them. We know that that's all possible.
Yep.
But I just find it very hard to believe that the entire world is pushing towards taking a vaccination and making it mandatory, or if you can't travel, or you can't enter a place of business if you don't have a vaccination card and all this other stupidness.
Yeah.
Because 99% of the people who've gotten COVID-19 have gotten over it because they were all asymptomatic. They didn't pass it on to anybody else. A lot of people got it and didn't even know they had it. Again, I don't think anybody should be forced to take the vaccine, and I hope the governor make goods on his word that he said on his Facebook page that he'd be willing to take it before any Caymanian, and I would like to see that. I would like to see that he take a real dose of it by a real administering doctor, and we just like to see the effects of it. And but everybody have a different effect because everybody have a different immune system.
Yeah. But is that and not to the governor or any politician here, but just in general speaking,
well,
right?
Those are the people who are forcing us to take it.
Yeah.
If that becomes an issue, I'm not saying that's what they're doing now. I remember the premier made it very clear that they were going to try to give it to those people who are high at risk and at risk people and whatnot. I think that's the right thing to do. I don't think it should become mandatory. I don't feel that any government should force any citizen to take anything that they don't want to take. And I don't think they should be victimized or marginalized or victimized because they chose not to. So it's like smoking. You buy a pack of cigarettes and it clearly states on the box that it could kill you. But people, that's that person's choice. They choose to go out and do those things. Right. Now, having said that, Sterling, I think that we need to seize every opportunity, such as these, to talk about, some of the issues, solutions. Because, remember this, right? Whether we do something, you're going to be offending someone, and when you do not, and equally, as if you don't do anything, you're going to be offending a different group, offending another group. So we have to focus on a smart balance of all the things that we choose to do. We have to make sure that we prioritize certain things. We need to make sure that before we can offer anything to anybody else, we should make sure that our people are good. We should make sure that there's some level of continuity that we're satisfied with in terms of policies, legislation, systems, and all of the mechanisms that create a sustainable environment. If we're comfortable with that and we know that those things are working and our people have a good opportunity to participate and be sustainable and have some level of continuity and economic success, then we can focus on everything else on the outside of that.
Yeah.
So my biggest concern is not vaccination, not putting people in prison, not enforcing certain laws, the COVID laws. I don't have any of those concerns, right? Because those devices take care of themselves. My concern is how are we gonna sustain the current economic climate? How are we gonna deal with the aftershock that is about to hit us? Because certainly, because we never diversified our portfolio, and we've relied on only two industries for a very long time, and now that one of them are gone, and the other one, thank God, was not affected that much, if any at all, because a lot of people could have worked from home, and they could have still take care of their responsibilities in managing these funds in the financial sector. Now, here is a plausible solution, and you've heard me say this before, and I've never been inconsistent with what I see when it comes to things that could fundamentally help everybody in Cayman overall, not selective or not some special group. And no, if and this is why we need to have these conversations. Nobody want to have them because you're gonna be ruffling these feathers or raising eyebrows over here or making that group upset. Here's the reality. We could do this right now. We could do this tomorrow morning, and we can generate revenue from it that could help subsidize the already stimulus packages that we're giving out that we can't really afford, because it only so long we can borrow money to continue these stimuluses if we don't if our economy can't get kickstart. Opening in March is very wishful thinking, right? And I don't think it's going to happen. Not to any extent where we're going to start seeing some sort of relief. So here's a solution, ladies and gentlemen. And I've said it before, but in case of those of you that didn't hear it, and for those of you who had heard it, I'm going to just give you a friendly reminder. The financial service industry in this country is a well-oiled machine. It has been so for a very long time. We manage and take care of multiple investment vehicles. We create a service industry that is second to none. Hence the reason why we're always being casted on the EU's blacklist in order to create certain hindrances to our ability to maintain that wealth of business. That industry, ladies and gentlemen, generates and manage investment vehicles in the tune of $2 to $3 trillion on an annual basis. Now, 25% of that, thereabouts, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25% of that goes into service fees, to management fees, to all of the institutions, the law firms, the accounting firms, the banks. All of those institutions collect 25% collectively for managing these investment vehicles and hedge funds and whatnot. Now, here's a very simple solution. The Cayman Islands government should have had a mechanism that extracted 5% of that already 25% that is already being paid to all of these institutions for managing, taking care, and running these businesses. Now, and the reason why I said it like that is because some people will say, oh, well, you can't just raise an extra 5% on the customer because they might go somewhere else to do business. Well, you're not taking it from the customer. You're taking it from the institutions who are charging them. So instead of a lawyer making $5 million a year bonus this year, he's going to make 5% less than that $5 million. That goes into a sovereignty, into a government sovereignty, which then is managed by an independent committee who can disperse those funds for social welfare, education, health, housing, and all of the issues that we have in the Cayman Islands that we now currently take care of, and we're unable to do so because of resources, because of lack of resources. Now, that 5% is a floating percent. Is a floating number. I only use that hypothetically because if you look at the numbers and how much revenue is generated out of that in that industry for those private companies, the government only gets service fees and work permit fees and licensing fees from those companies. That's where the buck stops. We don't get any other money from that industry. Now, they'll have all of these galas talking about feed our children and all these different galas to charities so that they can tap themselves on the shoulder annually to say that they've done something noble for the community. And again, I don't believe in charities, at least not charities that have to exist in a first world country who boasts the fifth largest financial sector in the world, who claims that we got one of the best economies in the world. We shouldn't have anybody paying to educate or feed any of our children. And the reason I say that because there's only 20,000 of us. So that's one solution that could go in place right this minute, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, the policymakers will never trek down that road. You know why? Because there's too much money at stake, right? So those people will push really, really hard, and they would say all sorts of things to scare the government into a corner, to say that that's not the right thing to do because we're going to pack up and go somewhere else. You're not going to pack up and go anywhere else. There have been a lot of changes in the financial institution over the last 30 years that one would have thought they would have packed up and went to a different jurisdiction, but yet they're still here. In fact, numbers are increasing. So that's number one. Number two, and I'll say this, I don't know how long we got before the next break.
The break is up now.
Okay.
Let's hear what number two is.
Well, number two.
Come back from the break.
We'll come back from you.
I want to hear what number two. All right. Mario D. Rankin. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm Evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the Word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing, so come and hear. Bring your own chair or simply park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Rotary. We've been part of the beginnings, the then and now of the Francis Bodden Girls Home in Bodden Town and the Bonaventure Boys Home in the West Bay. Rotary Central, along with community partners assisting students to overcome barriers on their path of learning during this pandemic, thousands of dollars in laptops. Support for the annual Rotary Island-wide health check and diabetes training by Rotary. The National Blood Bank, supported by Rotary since 1999. Lives saved, lives restored. Just a little of what we've done and continue to do. Rotary opens opportunities.
Does 2020 have you thinking about making some changes in your life? Maybe you're considering a new job or career, or going back to school, taking a short course, perhaps starting your own business. Skills for Life can help. Skills for Life is a government initiative that highlights various training and learning opportunities available for Caymanians to retool, upskill, advance, and access what you need to succeed in the workplace. Want more information? Visit our website, gov.ky/skills for life today.
Dream a little dream with this year's holiday sale at Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center. Get Fit 2021 sale from December 15th to January 15th. 2-for-1 Powerhouse Gym memberships for $650 or single memberships for $350. The perfect Christmas gift or New Year's resolution. Gift certificates are available. Call 946-5464 or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Remember, fit is not a destination, it is a way of life. The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by
Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And it is indeed another magnificent Monday. You know, like that Mamas and Papas song I never did, like Monday. I love Mondays, man. Mario D. Rankin. Thank you, very, very much for your company. You were sharing just then, though. One solution. Solution number two.
Well, solution number two. Well, I think that it's long past the time that we stop sidestepping the real issue in Cayman, which is cost of living.
Yeah.
And there are many things we can do to reduce the cost of living immediately. But by doing those things, you are creating a gap in some of the shareholder pockets and some of the institutions that drive the cost of living up. And we all know who those institutions are. Those are the people who are in control of the compulsory items, food and energy, right? So we have to understand that, like I said, it has to be a smart balance when we implement certain policies and legislation in order to ensure that there's a sustainable structure within the Cayman Islands, because there's only a handful of us that doesn't care about light bill, water bill, gas bill, food bill. There's only a handful of people in Cayman that has that comfort zone. And then the majority of us have to be totally focused on what our ability is on a month-to-month basis, on how we can accomplish those things, and to make sure that we stay on top of it, that we don't fall so far behind that we end up losing our ability to maintain even one of those things, right? And granted, one of those things you might end up dead, because if you can't feed yourself, food equals life, right? So I say all of that just so I can illustrate to you what number two is. because I think that, we have a lot of part-time environmentalists on our island, and I think it's unfortunate because, they'll dine down the road at a place that created just as much environmental impact, but because those people are their friends, they don't have an issue with it. But then the guy up the street is doing something similar, or probably not even as impactful, then they jump on the bandwagon. So I said that because I wanted to make sure that I stick flashlights in every dark corner that listening, right? So we need to come to the realization that our utility company, which controls our energy, has done zero. I mean, when I say zero, because the little small initiative that they made with solar and alternatives and all this other stuff is not even worth talking about. Because we see that their infrastructure has been driven towards still consuming fossil fuel. We know that there've been multiple large pockets of oil reserves been found over the last 3.5 years. I could probably name two right off the top of my head. And one out of the two found like 54 billion barrel reserve. And so one would venture to say that the infrastructure that is currently in place for providing energy, which by fossil is going to be around for a while. There's nothing one person in Cayman can do to prevent that. We can't stop that. So we need to be smart about this, right? We need to be absolutely smart about this. So we need to say, okay, how can we be more environmentally conscious on how we burn in fossils? How can we do better right now where that creates an impact, as opposed to saying, well, let's just shut all of that down and go to alternatives when there's no real plan to do that cold turkey or overnight. So we have to understand that for the next 25 years, we're going to be burning fossil, right? It's unfortunate, but that's the temperature of the future on what's going to happen, right? So we must focus on being more responsible, environmentally friendly while burning fossils. So here's my suggestion, and here's what I think, and it's been on the table from in the 70s. So this is not Mario idea, and this is not Mario's solution. But I have talked about it, and I've even went to the extent back in 2010-11 when we were talking about doing the oil refinery and next to CUC. Off of Sparkers Drive, which was a small modular plant, which would have been 100% environmentally friendly. When we talked about that, we did a report, we did a study on terms of consumption, right? Granted, that was 10 years ago, right? So one would imagine that the consumption has gone up by a considerable amount. Hence the reason, our utility company brought in a brand new man generator that burned an additional 25,000 gallons of fuel per day. Okay, so we must understand the impacts of what I'm talking about. So all long and short, I can just say this: it's been toyed around from in the 70s, probably before, but my research took me as far back as the 70s, where we were talking about bulk storage for fuel, and I think that we missed a very golden opportunity back in the 70s, because had we had implemented that bulk storage facility in the 70s, I think it was on Cayman Brac or Little Cayman, I stand to be corrected, either of those places, because of its close proximity to shore to ocean, they were a lot more situated. They were ideally situated more than Cayman, and Grand Cayman, that is, not the two islands. Anyway. In 2010, I had structured a deal with a company called Newmont Mining out of Alaska, which has a lot of interest in a lot of fuel companies around the world. There was a company by the name of Alphazan Holdings. You can Google it. It's one of the largest holding companies in the world that had shares in a lot of the oil reserves. So they essentially owned the mega tankers that were coming into our region and then offloading to smaller tankers because they weren't able to get into the Yucatan because the waters were too shallow. So they would run aground the big boats. So they would transship, right? And they transship right offshore here. So the same risk that we're talking about having if we put a facility, a proper RAN facility and storage facility here, is the same risk that we're having right now with them offshore doing it. Because if they ever have a disaster, it's going to wash on our shores. We're going to pay the price, right? So if we put a bulk storage facility in place, the one that we did in 2010, which I still have, by the way, and I'm willing to give it to the government for free. It was a $295,000 study that was done by a company called Waterfront Development. out of Alaska. They did the whole development research study package on how it would work, the whole 9 yards. So it's a full report and study that was done to show you how you could implement this. Now let's get down to the dollars and cents of it and what it means and what it could have meant if we had implemented that even in the 70s, even if we had done it in 2010. I had negotiated a deal where they would pay 8 or 9 cents per gallon royalty to the Cayman Islands government for that storage, and they would have stored a minimum of 1 billion barrels a year to be transshipped into smaller ships. So the mega ships would have come in, they would have pumped it into the storage facility here in Cayman Islands or Little Cayman or Cayman Brac, wherever we thought was the best location, and then they would pay 8 or 9 cents US a gallon royalty to the government. Now, if you're doing $1.5 billion a year, that's over $1 billion in revenue just for storing it and transshipping it. And it would have also created jobs. People got into that industry, and it would have been a pillar of our economy that never goes away under no economic climate, because during disasters, people burn energy, people drive cars, people consume food. In order to get food, you got to burn diesel. In order to drive your car, 90% of the cars 99% of cars in the world are combustion, unfortunately. But again, this would have opened up a pillar that would have been untouchable from then, even now, even if we implemented it today. So a couple weeks ago, I heard where they were getting ready to do a facility somewhere in Breakers, and it was something to do. I think it was they were going to put an LNG storage facility. I don't particularly agree with that, because there are fuels out there that we can that is a lot greener, a lot cheaper, and easier to store and less risk, such as propane. Every diesel generator in the world could be retrofitted with a propane retrofit that it burns propane. Again, propane is cheaper, it's environmentally friendlier than hard combust diesel, and it's accessible within the region. So, which means it would bring down the cost of living considerably, immediately, not over a period of time. Because once you put those retrofits onto those generators and they start burning propane, then that fuel factor on your bill automatically changes, because now you're no longer burning hard diesel, and then you're also reducing your carbon footprint, which you get carbon credits for, which should be passed on to the consumer, who has to pay 100% for fuel. So any carbon credits that the utility company get should be passed on to the consumer. I don't know if they with the 5 megawatts that they bought the solar system in Bodden Town, I don't know what level of carbon footprint relief they got, but if they did get any carbon footprint relief and they're buying that money, it's illegal, because it should go to the people of the Cayman Islands, because we pay for fuel, not them. We pay for it. It's 100% pass-through cost to the consumer. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I say all of this, Sterling, because I think it's important people get a good overview of what I'm talking about. You see, number 2 diesel only combusts at 78%. Hence the reason you see black smoke coming out of a diesel engine. That black smoke is the additional diesel that could not combust. So it exhausts it in smoke, which creates the carbon footprint that we don't want. Propane now, you're going to take that diesel burning generator, you're going to retrofit it where it burns propane and not diesel. Propane has a very low carbon output when you burn it. Considerably lower than diesel. And the cost is a lot less. Now, I understand that there will be some costs on the front end to put in these retro systems, but that's a one-time cost. You're not putting them on every year. You're putting them in now and then, and you're going to maintain them to be on forever. And if one should break down, you put another one in. I mean, we pay for a hiccup that the utility company has right now. We see a surcharge on our bill. If they catch the flu, we pay for it. So all I'm saying is that, ladies and gentlemen, if we put a bulk storage facility on our island, we can collect a well-negotiated percent of that bulk storage as a royalty, which goes into a sovereignty, which pays for healthcare, pays for education, pays for housing, pays for roads, pays for all those things. If you look at their physical budget, if you go on the government website and you look at their budget and their appropriations, and if you see the big ticket items, we could pay for all of those things from this one pillar that never, ever goes away. I don't care how many pandemics take place. people? Did you burn less gas or did you burn less energy? Because if you didn't drive your car during the lockdown, you certainly stayed home and burnt your AC and other appliances that compensated for driving less. So even if we did see some reduction in our consumption, it still was on a level where it was almost normal in terms of our burn. So again, we already have the writing on the wall. We know what it is we need to do. But the problem with those two things that I just mentioned is the people behind the scenes, the shareholders of these institutions that will now have to take some sort of impact is going to be the persons that flood the election with lobbyist dollars to maintain the status quo. And that's the unfortunate side. But we need strong-minded people who can't be bought to run for politics. I heard Rambo say earlier, and he's 100% right. You don't need to have a wall of accolades to be a good politician, right? Or to be a good steward of your country. And these are the things that we need to focus on because, it's not a lot of us. So we don't need the whole world to take care of the people that we have. Right. We shouldn't have anybody falling through the cracks, Sterling.
And sadly, it's happening. But let's pause quickly, take a short break. When we come back, let's continue the discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
The road to becoming a British Overseas Territories citizen just became a lot smoother. You can now apply online at online.odg.gov.ky. If you or someone you know needs to be naturalized or registered as a British Overseas Territories citizen, or if you are a citizen and need to replace your lost or damaged certificate, complete the process at online.odg.gov.ky.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action.
Radio Command Sports Update, brought to you by Evangelist Joseph Ebanks.
Have you heard the call?
Inviting you to Have You Heard the Call? Weekly worship every Wednesday and Thursday. Listen to the biggest sports stories in Cayman, around the region, and around the world. Inside the 7 a.m. hour on Radio Cayman. Brought to you by Evangelist Joseph Ebanks. Have you heard the call?
Covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Weekdays on Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. It is Open Line here on Talk Today, and we have the excellent company of Mr. Mario D. Rankin. You've been a strong proponent, a public champion for alternative energy, solar in particular. And I remember a number of discussions over the years where you suggested that even as governments taking the initiative and showing the leadership, whether through installations on public buildings and covering parking lots or schools and the like. There was a proposal one time that you had about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Sterling, truthfully, because the backstory is where, the government, our government has a division called Parks and Recreation. I mean, and public spaces in different places. But obviously, to run these places, you gotta consume energy. So I had looked at the government, and this was a while back. Granted, it could be subject to change now. Anyway, I went onto the website. I looked at what the government's consumption was of street lights and parks and all these places that we were consuming energy, but to no real benefit other than having the convenience of the parks and the lights on the road being lit. Because we all know that properly lit roads prevent a lot of things. Yeah. So we need them. We definitely need them. So I looked at it and I saw that it was somewhere between $9 to $14 million annually that we were spending on these on electricity. So my proposal was, and I remember going into Mr. Tibbitt's office that afternoon, right over here at the new building, and I laid it all out, and I gave him a short version of the proposal, hoping to get an audience with cabinet, so that I can say, look, here's something I'm willing to give you, the government. I want nothing from this. All I wanted from it was an opportunity to be the company that would build it out, set it up, and maintain it. So that way I can have some work, right? It was like $1.1 million And the reason why I did that, I said, listen, the government has access to a lot of crown land, so we don't need to go buy land. And I said, as opposed to the government subsidizing low-income homeowners and putting solar in their houses, and then you have this landmine of solar panel fields all over the place on people's homes, why don't we allocate a piece of crown land? Let's build a solar farm on that one piece of land. Make sure that we build it on a lot that has the capacity to grow as we need. Because if we're gonna put an alternative energy plan in place, then here is a great start. Here's what we could do. Let's put these Provolic system in place. Let's pump that electricity to the grid. That then translates to a credit from the utility company. They give you a credit, and then if there's anyone within the NAU system that needs assistance for utilities, then you could distribute the credits that you've already generated as a government from your one location solar farm, as opposed to having all of these buildings with panels on it. Then that just creates an issue where you have to maintain several different locations as opposed to one. The beauty about putting a solar farm in one central location and pumping it to the grid is that every other system that you would do that with, like let's just say hypothetically the government had done it with 100 systems for 100 different people, then that would be 100 different credit systems that would have to be put in place by the utility company. However, we could put one central location and pump 10 megawatts electricity, generate credit, and then distribute those credits to offset the cost of their utility bill, which means the government then would have that one-time upfront cost to build the plant, to build the farm, and then after the third year or even after the second year, they would be into profits because they would have justified the $1.5 million to build out the system by giving credit to those people who genuinely need it and offsetting their personal costs of consumption of electricity with those credits. Now, at the time when I proposed it, and to Mr. Tibbetts' credit, he liked the idea. And he said, "Oh well, because this costs more than because it costs over $200,000, it would have to be put out to tender." I said, "But why would you?" I said, "Yeah, you could put it out to tender. I don't have a problem with that. But you should only put out the build out to tender. Get a company to come in." I say, we're willing to bid on it if you want to put it out to tender. Let's put it out to tender. Now, granted, now think about what I'm saying. He wanted me to put the idea that I put for him out to tender so that I could bid on my own idea against other people. When I told him I don't want nothing from it other than a maintenance contract. And that would pay for itself over the years. The government could be reaping the benefits. But it was never implemented. And you need to ask yourself why. And then you need to ask yourself this question, Sterling. Why hasn't the government done anything to reduce their carbon footprint? Because they certainly got the resources. And when I say they got the resources, we see where they just borrowed over $300 million to continue to pay these stimulus packages because of COVID-19. Granted, COVID-19 is a pandemic and it's a state of emergency. That's all that depends on who you talk to. But again, don't you think that the constant bleeding of our budget and the lack of diversity and individuals who genuinely can't have the right amount of food every day in order to live a healthy, sustainable life, isn't that a matter of national importance? Isn't that a virus that we want to get rid of? So when we need to prioritize life over profit. And this is where we've gone wrong. And I'm not asking. I didn't ask for them to tell me who built the pyramids. I didn't ask them an impossible question. I just said, hey, here is a solution. And I can tell you this right now, and I'll state this for the record. I still have the proposal sitting in a file that I'm willing to give any member of government for free to implement it. And all it's going to do is benefit the government, which essentially benefits the people. So, these are the little things that we could be doing that could offset certain costs. Because you know what $9 million extra a year is if you know how to pay that into street lights? You know how much scholarships you can give out? You know how much food you can put on the table? You know how many light bills and water bills and more and rent you could pay for people who genuinely need it? And all we got to do is implement solutions. Because solutions are solutions is exactly like education. Useless unless applied.
With that in mind, my friend, let's pause and take a break. When you come back, I want to hear from you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present. Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio Cayman's newsroom. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service has located a teenage girl who went missing from her home in Georgetown on New Year's Day. Police say 16-year-old Yadira Carter Kayenga is believed to be in good health and thanks the public for their assistance. In international news, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange cannot be extradited to the United States, a court in London has ruled. The judge blocked the request because of concerns over his mental health and risk of suicide in the U.S. The 49-year-old is wanted over the publication of thousands of classified documents in 2010 and 2011. Georgia's top election official Brad Raffensperger has called U.S. President Donald Trump's false claims that he won the state in 2020 just plain wrong. His comment came after Mr. Trump pressured him in a phone call to find votes proving his win. Criticism of Trump's call has been widespread, with some claiming that it amounted to illegal vote tampering. And Pope Francis has condemned people who traveled abroad for a vacation and avoid COVID-19 lockdowns, adding that holidaymakers were not considering the effect of their actions on others. The pontiff said Sunday he was saddened by news reports claiming that people were flying abroad to have fun amid the pandemic. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037. And you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Got a good company of Mr. Mario D. Rankin. And a WhatsApp message came through earlier, just after Mr. Dolan was on. And I'll just read as it is. I beg to disagree with number one. I was in the BRAC 4 days and saw only one police officer, one police car, and I was constantly on the road. So I guess, in a sense, for some people, they want a greater presence. Others would like to see maybe less need for such,
Well, the thing about having not seen a police car in Windsor Park for 10 days, and you didn't hear that anything happened, that's a good thing.
But this is it. I mean,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Being a person that grew up in Windsor Park.
And someone, when you were talking earlier about the charities and the financial services sector sort of patting themselves in the back, listeners reminding us that many times, these donations from these companies come from when companies' trusts or the like are wound up. So,
wound up, yep.
That is sort of leftover money that's being donated, really coming from the institution, but just from the clients' wound up trusts or the like.
That's when you put lipstick on a pig.
I like to say that.
So, it's really unfortunate that we have to continue to have these conversations, but we must be consistent. We must persevere, and we must make sure that at the very least we create the level of awareness that gives people a better opportunity to make decisions based on their surroundings. And I think until we have good, strong, like-minded individuals elected in our country, we're not going to see any real results to create the level of change that is needed right now in order to create a more sustainable Cayman. It's not unfathomable that this could be done. It can be done. These things can be implemented, and it's not hard to do. We're always scrubbed off by the politician by saying you don't understand politics. It's not that easy. But we've seen our government in the past implement certain things on a moment's notice because something was at jeopardy. or something was going to jeopardize a certain environment that they thought was important enough for them to call a meeting to pass legislation to fix it. So, you know, I want them to use that same level of effort and energy when it comes to helping the small people of this country. I mean, is it so unthinkable to ask that you exert the same level of energy and time and effort to fix the things that are affecting the majority of the people in this country?
Let me ask of you, right? And to our listeners as well. Based on what you just shared, we look at, you know, the government saying not long ago they were spending $1 million every day to run the economy, right? We know that they have agreed to borrow, you know, a couple of $100 million and the like. So we can see significant funds over the coming years, potentially more debt and more money being spent. But education, and we look at now many schools here and elsewhere, tertiary schools providing alternative learning via the online platform.
Right.
Many of our students are here. Some still have to be overseas and either online or doing, you know, some online and so on. But the expenses aren't less, you know. If anything, they're probably as much and more. I wonder to what extent scholarship funds, are available through the government because of this increased expenditure the government is incurring, and B, if it's available, to what extent is that money being provided to our students? So you may be, you know, if my information is correct, for instance, the student isn't going to be given money for accommodation, just tuition. And on the face of it, you may think, well, yeah, that sounds right, you know, you're online. But what if you have to have that accommodation anyway, right?
Right.
So,
well, I think the definition of scholarship should represent what it means in every sense of the definition, and I believe that, you know, if we want to not create a elitist society, we must ensure that there are certain policies and legislation in place that ensure that once a person gets that tertiary education or those degrees in whatever field, that they are not marginalized when they return home.
Yeah.
That's number one. Because you could have all the smart people in the world, but if you have a system that refuses to hire them, then they're not going to be able to contribute.
You actually create a disincentive.
That's right.
Why would they go to spend this money in that time, get an education when it doesn't make any sense, right?
And then we have to turn our focus and attention to the system itself on how and who gets scholarships. You know, we've all heard at some point over the last period of 20 years that there have been some people who's been discriminated against simply because of their parents' political affiliation or for whatever reason, but we've seen it and it has happened. So, you know, our scholarship distribution system should be somewhat like an ATM, where you put your card in, and if all the credits are there in order for you to qualify for that disbursement of funds, it shouldn't care who's at the end of it. You understand? No discrimination. But, you know, we won't ever see a system like that, because in a small community like Cayman, certainly where everybody is needle threaded together at somewhere in some angle, there's going to be discrimination, and some are going to be marginalized based on who they are. It's unfortunate. I personally think that we should create better effort to weed that kind of stuff out. But then we also have to look at the overall picture. How do we generate scholarship money? Where do we get it from? Who's going to control it? Who gets it? If and here is my and stop me when you think that I'm going a little bit too far. Granted. I think a person that attains education on any level should also have the ability to go anywhere and use that ability. I don't think they should be limited. However, I think if you get a government-funded scholarship, obviously it's a process. It's an application process. There's a screening process. You know, all that stuff has to be in place. And I think that it should be not limited to, but emphasize that whatever it is you're going to study with the scholarship money, it should at least be something that is available here in Cayman.
But you see, I hear you.
And
right?
then, you know, and like I said in the beginning, not limited to just that. Because so some kids might want to be a doctor, and they may want to go to another part of the world and practice medicine in a part of the world that healthcare might not exist, and people might be unfortunate, so they might want to do the noble thing, and do that, and no one should be hindered from doing that, right?
Exactly.
Again, it's all about the moral perspective of how we see things.
But you're taking money, taxpayer money, and you're educating, you're upskilling your populace to be of service to humanity, right?
Right.
And in the Cayman context, the limited resources that are here, the size of the population, the fact there's a growing population, it would seem that almost anything that someone does, people can come from elsewhere as I don't know, as a technician to repair sewing machines. Now, sewing machines are probably not popular, but there might be nobody else in the country that can do that. And all of a sudden, back home, wherever that is, you probably were unemployed.
Right.
But here in a small country, you have more work than you can do yourself, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I look at the dental industry in Cayman.
Okay.
Take a good look at that. I challenge anybody in Cayman to walk into every single dental office in the Cayman Islands. Walk into the biggest ones. And then you count how many Caymanians working in there.
Yeah.
Even at the front desk level.
Yeah. Whether it's,
go do it right
whether it's
now.
in that field or whether it's even in hospitality. Right?
Well, this again. That was just a layup.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're gonna do the alley hoop. So based on that one industry, where the employer could send the application in saying, oh well, this is a special need position. So therefore, you're not harvesting enough Caymanians with this experience that we need in order to justify their permit. Now, again, these are a lot of the other fundamental issues that affects the continuity and the sustainability of Caymanians.
But if you increase your population, give any and everybody, unfettered access, then future generations of Caymanians, where will they fit in?
Well, the first thing we gotta do, and I'm gonna say this. The first thing we gotta do is we need to put a moratorium on status grants and permanent residency. We gotta do that today, and it gotta be for a minimum of 20 years. I'll tell you why. Because we have not been able to digest the already influx of persons who have come to our shores and enjoyed the relaxed immigration policies and to come here and be a part of our society. Now, let me state this very clearly. I have nothing against anyone from anywhere unless or until you offend or try to alter or try to manipulate the way of life that we have here. Then I have an issue. But I think that we have become totally dependent on these dollars that we generate from these applications and these fees and these things. And again, this goes all the way back to diversification of our portfolio. Because if we had institutions in place that were generating revenue that didn't create the reliance on those industries, then we wouldn't have this unbalanced scale of workforce versus Caymanians. We need to stop hiding behind the invisible tree because we can see it. It's there. We know that it's there. So the problem is the key fundamental issues in our country is that the very systems that is creating the social disparity between Caymanians and foreigners is the very system that is generating revenue in which the government has hung their GDP hat on. So their total reliance on those dollars has prevented them from doing anything meaningful to reduce that cause of social unrest because of the number of people coming in. So when you look at 30,000 work permits, that's 30,000 times whatever that is for the work permit fee. That is a notch in the GDP in which the government has already spent. So they're not going to do anything to reduce those numbers because they don't have anything alternative to fill the gap. That's why it's important we have a system. We need to start huddling in every corner, pulling all of our resources from all the people to create a diversity in our portfolio so that we can start generating revenue and be less reliant on the things that are deteriorating our society and diminishing our ability and opportunities to get a part of anything in Cayman. Listen, we cannot go down this trek if you were to draw a graph. If you were to draw a graph with a pencil right now and you put it on a big board and you put 3 lines down, that represents 30 years. and you look at the number of people who got PR, the number of people who got work permits, and the number of people who got all of the relaxed immigration treat by, if you look at all those things, that has increased steadily over 30 years. The government revenue has also increased. Their spending and their reliance on it has also increased. So then when you look over here at the Caymanian and his ability and his wealth and what he has been afforded to generate his own personal wealth, so that he's not a person who fell between the cracks and end up at the 695 million mile line long at NAU, because we have relied on those fees from those institutions that create the issues that marginalize Caymanians. Yes, we want everybody participation, but it has to be sustainable. If it's not inclusive of all, then it shouldn't be done at all.
Yeah. I guess as someone reminds us, governments have become, addicted to the crack of work permit fees. We're gonna pause.
Let me tell you.
Take the news break. Take the 1:15 break. Take the 2:15 break. That is the last break of the program. Stay tuned. We'll talk today.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
The Cayman Islands government would like to remind the public that e-services are available for vehicle license renewal, trade and business licensing, police clearance, and other transactions. Skip the line and apply online. E-services are user-friendly, efficient, and most important, you can apply and pay from the comfort of your home. Visit eservices.gov.ky.
Interested in starting a career in maintenance? Register now to UCCI's TVET Preventative Maintenance course. Students will gain practical skills and theoretical knowledge in electrical installation and repair, servicing air conditions and refrigeration systems, and more. Classes start on January 18th.
Register now on our website at connect.ucci.edu.ky/register/short courses.
Or visit us from January 6th to the 12th for face-to-face registration.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. It is 949-8037, or you can call the Flow toll-free line at 1-800-534-8255. And it's our first, show of the new year for us, and good company of Mario Rankin. So this is the start, my friend.
Well, I just thought I would try to get it all in on this one show, because I don't know if I'm going to ever be invited back, but just in case.
But I laugh, and I wonder though.
This is the People's Radio Station, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Is this the People's Radio Station or is this a government radio station?
Yeah. It's interesting though. That
it says Radio Cayman. It don't say Radio Politician.
When we look at where the country's at, and we look at the government's budgets over the years, right? And we look at how we now have a 2-year budget, and we see what was it? We hear politicians never let a good crisis go to waste.
Oh no!
Right? But I keep thinking that I don't wish to sound like I'm defending politicians, but it's for the voters to remain engaged and informed, and to be supportive, but also be prepared to hold accountable as they draw alongside, their policies and politicians. But if a country this size, with the budgets that we've had, and with the expectations of the people, not just the voters, but everybody, look at our roads and infrastructure. Look at the concessions that are being granted, for some development. It becomes profitable for that project, but not, to dismiss the expense of, the country in providing the roads and all the infrastructure to support that development. The politician may, be able to claim a victory by putting this project on the table.
Right.
What is the cost to the country down the road for having it? Increased traffic congestion, more demands on all other resources to support it.
Yeah, I mean, fixing roads at the end of every election cycle certainly isn't anything new to Cayman. Yeah. I mean, that's almost like Christmas.
Yeah, look at that stretch of road between, and only because I think we call it the Island Heritage going north to the Governor's Square development. That's a small section there. First it was a dip and we ripped it up, and for weeks on end traffic was diverted and significant cost. But that dip got worse. And then we did it over again, just at this section there.
Right.
How many other roads? The one, between the Butterfield roundabout and the four stoplights intersection right now.
Well, I can name more than a handful of roads in neighborhoods where regular people live that hasn't been touched in 15 years. But it's up for debate. I think it is absolutely unfortunate that we take the approach we take.
But again, I cut you, but I just say that reminds me.
Well, look at the Ritz-Carlton Bridge. We know that was a bad design from day one. It always had a dip in it. Always.
Right.
They just redid it again just recently. So it's not there now. I don't know how long before it.
But they did a couple not long ago either to replace.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
The roundabout now where the Heritage roundabout is, there were a few bad accidents. I think because and I'm not a civil engineer. I'm stating that for the record. But I do have common sense. But I imagine that from what I understood, the pavement was pitched to the outside. So whenever you get on it, you're going around it. Your car is more inclined to drift that way because of the way the road was pitched. So they redid that. It pitched inward. When you go around it now, it's kind of like an embankment. So you have less likely opportunity to slide off. So that I can agree with.
Fair enough.
I can agree with that. I can also agree with fixing the dip at the Ritz-Carlton Bridge. I can also agree with fixing that. However, there are multiple other roads in the Cayman Islands that is not in those locations that also needs to be fixed, that are being neglected. So
look at the subdivision in which I stay. I laugh. They paved that at some point years ago.
And
right?
now it's a horse track.
Well, there is that too. But the little section that I'm on didn't get paved, right?
Yeah, well, we know that because of you. We know that your neighbors are suffering because of you living in the neighborhood.
Don't tell them that, man. It was something else, man. But I laugh. But something as simple as that, right? You pave certain areas, but don't because of the people that live there, or you pave because of the people.
Yeah.
Where's the objectivity, the impartial, sort of professional approach? Are we as voters demanding that sort of approach? The election is May 20, was it 20 something another?
Yeah.
Sometime in May 26, is it?
May 26, 2021.
All right.
But I mean, there are so many different issues and things that we could hammer out. I just wish that there was some effectiveness coming from the conversations, because we can't stop having them, because then people think that it's no longer an issue. We need to really buckle up this year, and we need to really focus on the fundamental things that are affecting Caymanians, and we need to start fixing these things, and they're not hard to fix.
Well, can I share this with you? And again,
sure.
I do this for two reasons: of sending to us, but also it just shows you how you, not just you, but you as well, can be an encouragement and inspiration to others. So this person writes in and says, "I hope," and I read as it's written, "I hope Mr. Mario D. Rankin is running for election. I just love this man."
Thank you very much for the encouraging words. But I won't be running, and I will be, and that is, don't be disappointed. I won't be running, but I will be in support of anybody who's willing to do the right thing and implement the right policies. And I would love to work behind the scenes to help those people accomplish the common goal to help Caymanians across the board. And I think that we have a few people who's going to be running for the upcoming election. And I know that we always say, they always say the same thing. But you know what? We still have to never lose faith. We should always remain optimistic, and we should always give persons an opportunity to either prove themselves right or prove us wrong.
Right.
So, we just can't, cut it off because we feel like they're going to become like the rest. They may very well be like the rest, but then they might not be. So I think that, everyone should be afforded an opportunity. And on that vein, I would like to say that, I've heard sitting politicians, especially those who always seize the opportunity every chance they get to say, oh, well, I was a lawyer and I left my legal practice to come and be a servant. I always hear that and it irks me. But I always hear those same people talking about, oh, well, he's a political wannabe. Oh, he only saying that because he's a political wannabe. But forgetting the fact that they were also political wannabes. And that if it had not been for politics, I don't know if their first profession would have provided the livelihood in which they enjoy today. And if this livelihood that they enjoy for so many years wasn't as great as they keep saying it's not, then why keep running for politics?
With that, Mr. Mario, we do have another caller.
All right.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good.
Hey, Happy New Year, my friend. How are you?
All right, man. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I hear it, man.
Yeah. Keep the fight up.
Nothing don't change, boy. You still can't understand to change the thing on the war, the drug war. You don't understand that.
Not that I don't understand it. It's just not something that I'm knowledgeable about. So I don't talk about things I don't know.
But I know you can see a fraud from a mile away, right?
Oh, by a mile away.
Right. So you can understand that the drug war was a fraud, right?
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with you, No, I just telling you I don't know enough about it.
It just no cojones.
But how, if I might, just allow me to interject. With that discussion, right, and where we are, and perhaps how we are now in the position that we're in, do you think that just making it so that people can move about freely like they would with a cigarette or anything else, is there more that we can do? Because you have shared with me an understanding that we can use the material for construction, for clothing, for food, for medicine, as well as recreation. So here's a very versatile product man has been given. Could we not make it all encompassing and not just restrict it like how we have so far?
Definitely. You would go back to when they used to make the torch rope.
Mm-hmm.
You would go back to the days, but instead you would be making, flour. Understand? You would have a bigger job. You understand? Then what is portrayed to you is like, oh, you're just selling this little thing to go roll up in a cigarette. And say, hi. That's what they like to put out there. And remember, Mr. Miller one there, he say how you supposed to learn about it is you have to get arrested. So what's the plan? You can tell me that bigger still vote for those same, get up. But come on, man.
If I may then ask you then, let's say a politician, let's say someone who is either elected now or had been elected in the past, between now and May, starts to say, we need to legalize, decriminalize, we need to do these things. You reference, being able to smell a fraud from a mile out. How do we know that they're just not pandering to people and paying lip service to it in order to gain a vote, as opposed to being really seriously genuine about trying to figure out how best to do it, whether it's approved or not approved, but to be legit and when they're talking about it?
You would have to come out and repay everybody, and they would have to come out publicly and admit that there was a fraud for 70 years. You would have to do that for me to say, yes, you're legitimate in what you're saying, you can have my vote. But if you come out just now and say, I think we need a change, and give that whole George Bush kind of speech, No, I don't believe you can get my respect ever again. No.
Yeah, man. No. Well, it's certainly going to be a continuing conversation, because we're recognizing that, like many things, there is growing pressure globally. But then there also has to be, as you've shared, a responsible approach.
If you was, I'll tell you, if they were really doing it now, and they started within 3 years, you could have almost everybody on the island, right? Going to work for 3 hours, earning $100. They can work any day they want, every day they want. But they won't dare do that. So like again, I asked Mario, we gonna stand up and say, okay, you want to change something, you want to really bite them? Come on, you're not biting for the bunk, we're biting for the face.
Well, I think that it probably puts us to a place where we're looking at this now and saying, how do we change our approach to things, so that not just about including everybody, but about being responsible for the now and for that will come after. We're almost at the end of today's show, but don't want to rush you. Any other thoughts you want to share with us?
Oh, have a good day, have a good year.
All right, we're going to talk to you soon, man. All the best to you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Maybe this is a growing indication of what we're going to be like going forward. Speaking our minds, getting involved and engaged and informed, and hopefully.
Well, you see, politicians not going to be able to avoid what he's talking about much longer. They're going to have to come. They're going to have to come to the table. They're going to have to come to the realization that they are far more benefits than they are non-benefits. There are ways that you can implement everything to make it work in your best interest. The problem is that, because this particular industry has been so blackballed for so long, and it created this jaded idea and a lot of people's mind, and unfortunately, none of them have been willing to give it the time it need in order to focus in and have a honest debate about it. I mean, they need to have a debate about it. They need to have a conversation about it, and they need to move forward, because you can't keep locking people up for smoking marijuana and giving them a criminal record. That in itself is a crime, in my personal opinion, because you're creating hindrances to those people for choosing to do something that they personally choose to do that affects them personally. But, again, there could be a lot of stipulations where you could have certain amount of month. I don't know. I'm no specialist. I don't know what one person used versus the next person. I'm just simply saying. I do know that there are a lot of things and a lot of measures can be put in place in order to have a proper balance in that industry. They didn't have the conversation. They're not going to be able to avoid it much longer.
Yeah, man.
But having said that, I know we're over the time, and I want to thank you again for allowing me to come on here and sharing some of the views. Hopefully today we talked about some of the solutions that could be done, and I would encourage people to focus on the message. Don't worry about who the messenger is. You understand? I don't care what color my brain surgeon is. I don't care what language he speak, and I don't care where he come from. All I worried about is if he's a good surgeon. That's it. All right?
There you
Have
go,
a good
man.
day.
Blessings to you, man. All right, thank you very much. And with that in mind, maybe the invitation is for all of us to stand in the gap and speak with a sense of purpose, speak with a sense of conviction and a resolve to do the right thing. Well, I'm off this week, but I'll probably be back tomorrow again. We'll see how it goes, and maybe I'll get Thursday and Friday off, but let's work with it. Join us tomorrow, please, for more talk today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Who knows who'll be filling in if it's not me? Well, let's find out. Until then, be blessed.